Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Hopefully you guys are having a phenomenal Wednesday. If you guys happen to be tuning in, hopefully, and you guys are in America, hopefully you guys are having a phenomenal Thanksgiving. I hope you guys all just enjoy the day with the family, enjoy the rest of the holidays. This will be the final show of this week. I'm going to check in the audio. All right, we're good to go. So this is going to be the final episode of this week's show. Obviously, with the holidays upcoming and everything, I'm going to be taking off Thursday and Friday. I will be back live on Monday, though, for next week's show. But let's get into today's show. As I said, hopefully you guys are all having a great Thanksgiving for those of you in America. If not, enjoy you guys Thursday and Friday as well. Hopefully you guys are having a great Wednesday, too. So on today's show, I'm going to be kind of skipping the line a little bit and going right into a fight preview. Obviously, we have Ben Whittaker's matchroom debut. Going to give you guys an update on that one. Also, you have TKV and Clarke. That fight's going down. We're going to be breaking that fight down for you guys. And then I'll be getting into a lot of boxing news and topics as well. But for those of you guys that are tuning in, if you guys want to go in the chat and you guys have any topics or questions for me to discuss or disagreements, whatever it is, make sure to leave those thoughts in the chat, and I'll make sure to answer those questions as we go throughout the show. Also, on top of that, if you guys are tuning in on YouTube, make sure to smash that like button for me. That always helps greatly with the show. So with that being said, let's get right to a fight preview. So Ben Whittaker had the big signing with Matchroom a couple months back, and obviously I've given my high praises for that partnership right there. But now it's come to fruition. We're going to see Matchroom and Ben Whittaker now come together on the very first debut card together. Ben Whittaker, Benjamin Gavazi. This fight goes down on Saturday. Now, I'll be honest, I don't expect it to be too much of a competition for Ben Whittaker. Therefore, there's my prediction. I think Ben Whittaker will easily win this fight. And I think if he wins this fight, he's going to be moved into the top 5 of the rankings, which is huge for himself, meaning that there's a legitimate chance come 2026, probably late 2026, he could be fighting for a world championship. So what do we expect in this fight? Well, I hope we see a dominant performance. The one thing that comes to the back of my mind is, hey, we've seen him against Liam Cameron before, not the second time, the first time. Obviously, we know that there is a flip that switches in Ben Whittaker. He needs to come out, put on a showcase, be the Ben Whittaker, and not screw around inside that ring. We know those days of him making the highlight reel clips and all the different fun stuff, those days are probably over. He needs to focus on being the best version of himself, and I think he can do that. And if he does anything near what he did at Liam Cameron in the second fight, I think we're going to be in for a spectacular performance on Saturday night. So that's what I expect from him. But I do want to skip over to some boxing news regarding Ben Whittaker, and this is what Eddie Hearn talked about, saying that Whittaker will make his U.S. debut in 2026. Ben Whittaker is expected to make his U.S. debut in early 2026 if he defeats Benjamin Gavazi for the WBC silver title on Saturday in Birmingham. This is big news right here. And the reason I say this is that going back to what I talked about with Ben Whittaker and Eddie Hearn, a matchroom partnership, he has a chance to become a global boxing star. He has the flash, the flair, the brand, all those different aspects. He needs to keep doing his job inside the ring, but his personality is huge. And when you talk about Eddie Hearn, something's unique about Matchroom. They have the ability to promote guys on a big stage in both the United States of America as well as in the UK. That's huge. Very few promoters have that ability. Eddie Hearn can do that. And so I think for Ben Whittaker, his flash and flair, it translates into the marketplace of America a little bit more than UK. Just based upon what I witnessed for the most part, there's a lot of people that don't like Ben Whittaker's flash, his swag, his style. That type of personality is much more embraced in the United States of America. Look at the likes of a Gervonta Tank Davis and those types of guys. If you bring Ben Whittaker to America, I think that's going to help him skyrocket in stardom. I think you could make a legitimate home for Ben Whittaker in America. Now, does not mean he's done in the UK, but I do think him building up a big resume in the USA is a huge thing for him. And I think that's what Eddie Hearn's going to do. And I think we're going to see Eddie Hearn really grow Ben Whittaker into a star in the USA. So we'll see what happens, because obviously he has to go out there and take care of business on Saturday. But that's just some updated news there as well. On that undercard, the only one that really stands out, the card's not the best, to be honest with you guys, but Cameron Vuong, he makes his return against Gavin Gawine. I think this is going to be an easy win for Cam as well here, but that's what's going to be on the undercard. Also going down in the UK, FRAZER Clarke, JEAMIE TKV. This is going to be a good fight. Remember, it was originally scheduled for October 25th, obviously postponed now to this weekend on Saturday night. Now, I like this situation. This is a good domestic British fight. The British heavyweight title will be on the line in this fight. I'm looking forward to this one. FRAZER Clarke, we look back to the fight with Fabio Wardley. That loss looks a lot better on his resume than it did at the moment. At the moment, we didn't know Fabio Wardley was going to be a future world champion. Now he's in that position today. So I think we've undervalued FRAZER Clarke to a certain extent. And for JEAMIE TKV, well, his fight against David Adelale was, while it was a controversial ending, it wasn't a good performance by him either. And so when I look at this fight, I think the build-up's been solid. I think it's going to be an interesting fight. But I'll be honest, I don't think I would be shocked if JEAMIE TKV makes a competitive fight. I think FRAZER Clarke is a very underrated fighter at the heavyweight division, not necessarily a world stage fighter, but FRAZER Clarke on the British scene is underrated. I think he's a solid fighter. And for JEAMIE TKV, I like him. I think he's solid. He could pull off the upset. Anything can happen in boxing, but I just was not impressed by what I saw against David Adeleo. Obviously, we go back. Should that have been a loss for himself? Obviously not, but it was not a good fight leading up to that moment. He didn't look very good against David Adeleo, and I just don't think it's going to translate very well against FRAZER Clarke. I think FRAZER Clarke's the more experienced fighter. I think FRAZER Clarke's going to go out there and have a much better victory. I think FRAZER Clarke will be the British heavyweight champion come Saturday night when I go and talk to you guys then on Monday as well. Two of the notable fights going down in America. One is Justin Paldo. He makes his return against Nick Thurin. Justin Paldo is the top 15 man at the lightweight division. And then Elijah Pierce, a man that's now about 126. He is now slowly inching his way up into the top rankings. Possibly will be a fight or two away from a world title shot if he continues to win. He's fighting Lorenzo Parra as well. So those are your fights going down this weekend. Let's head into some boxing news, though. And if you guys have any comments or topics for me to discuss on today's show, make sure to leave it in the chat, and your comment will pop up on the screen, and I will address those comments as we go. So I want to discuss this. I just gave my thoughts on it briefly back on Monday's show when I said, listen, Zurdo taking the David Benavidez fight over the Jai Opetaia fight. It was interesting. It's hard to say he's ducking when you're taking on a man like David Benavidez, but at the same time, the Jai Opetaia fight's been the one we've all wanted. It's what we've all been looking forward to. It's been the big unification fight. We've always been wanting this fight to happen, and I think all I can say is this. Zurdo Ramirez is clearly ducking Jai Opetaia. Jai Opetaia is currently the best man at the cruiserweight division. No ifs, ands, or buts, in my opinion. I don't think it's even competitive. And then for Zurdo to come out and say this, that he has no interest in fighting Jai Opetaia, and along the lines of the quote saying that he has no idea who Jai Opetaia was until recently, is absolutely ridiculous. We all know who Jai Opetaia is. We all know Zurdo knows exactly who that man is. And for Zurdo to continue to go back and forth and say, let's go make this fight happen. Oh, let's not make the fight happen. It's ridiculous. Jai Opetaia is the best cruiserweight in the entire world. We need to go see Jai Opetaia fight Zurdo Ramirez. And the fact that Zurdo will not fight him is disappointing. It's disappointing, to be honest with you. So here's what I'm going to say. Jai Opetaia needs to seriously look at himself right now and look at the landscape of the cruiserweight division. He is the best cruiserweight in all of boxing. But as we see right now, everybody wants to duck him. You have Badou Jack Noah McMillan. That could possibly be an option for him if he wants to go unify with those guys when the winter happens in a couple of weeks. But outside of that, the big fight is Zurdo Ramirez. Zurdo is going to duck Jai Opetaia. He's going to do whatever he can to not make that fight happen. So if you are Jai Opetaia and your biggest goal is to become undisputed at cruiserweight, which he would do if given the opportunity, is not available to himself, then you have to make your move and go to heavyweight. Jai Opetaia has done what he can. He's accomplished great things at cruiserweight. It's time to move to heavyweight now. And I would love to see him become undisputed at cruiserweight. As I said, he would do that. But when you're placed in the position you currently are at, you have to look at where the chips fall, and you have to realize, if I can't make this happen, there's no point in wasting time and money by trying to make a hypothetical fight happen when that man is going to duck you forever and ever and ever. It's an unfortunate reality. But if you're Jai Opetaia, it's time to look at what's going on right now, jump up to heavyweight, and go make the heavyweight fight, because there's a lot of big fights that could happen at heavyweight if you're Jai Opetaia. Here's an interesting one. Conor Benn has told The Ring that he's reached out to Shakur Stevenson directly for a potential fight in 2026. Shakur Stevenson followed that up by saying a tweet, essentially saying this. His 2026 game plan would be, Shakur made this tweet saying, essentially his 2026 game plan is to fight Teofimo Lopez in January, and at some point in time, jumping up to 147, challenging, and obviously his goal would be to defeat Conor Benn. If Shakur Stevenson can go throughout 2026 and pull off one of the most impressive wins of 2026, which I think he will do against Teofimo Lopez, and then jump up weight classes again to 147 and challenge Conor Benn at some point in 2026, that would be a huge year for him. I understand some people want to take shots at Conor Benn, are not very high on the man, but if Shakur Stevenson, which I think he would pull both these wins off, could make that jump up into 147 as well, when he's truly a 135 man, and beat Conor Benn, who is one of the top 5 or so guys at 147 right now, that would be a magnificent 2026 for Shakur Stevenson. And let's be honest, if he pulls that off, Shakur Stevenson solidifies himself as a top 5, probably higher, but for sure within that top 5 pound list on everybody's list by the end of 2026. And here's the thing. I think there's a real reality that Shakur Stevenson is that guy and is in that position come the end of 2026. Also, Callum Smith, David Morrell purse bids have been delayed again. Matchroom successfully requested a 7-day extension to agree terms for the Callum Smith-David Morrell WBO interim title fight. First bid was supposed to take place today. This was actually on yesterday when the tweet came out. But the teams now have until Friday, November 28th, to reach a deal. All right, as I said, I think this fight's going to happen. It makes too much sense for both parties. I think it's just taking a long time to negotiate a lot of pieces here. I'm not too concerned about it. I think we will get clarity on this in the near future. This fight should happen springtime 2026, in my opinion, maybe earlier. But that's what I'm looking at right now, and I'm ecstatic for this fight. I've been very high on it. I think Callum Smith-David Morrell is going to be one of the best fights that you can make that's not for a world championship right now at light heavyweight. So I'm ecstatic for that fight right there. I think it will be absolutely phenomenal. Here is some great news. Very inspiring. Now, especially for American fans, Jared Anderson is set for the final eliminator against Frank Sanchez to become IBF mandatory challenger to Alexander Usyk. We've all been wondering, where is Jared Anderson? And there are legitimate questions as to where this man is at. But what I can say confidently is this. We all know Jared Anderson has talent. Now, there's questions as to his commitment, his love for boxing, so on and so forth. But what we've seen for Jared Anderson, if he has this opportunity, which has now been presented to himself, take it. I've been wondering, why won't guys take the fight? Daniel Dubois took the fight opportunity. Now I think he's positioned himself for a much better fight opportunity. But there's so many other guys. Richard Torres is another guy on that list that turned down Frank Sanchez. And I was baffled by this. There's so many guys in the heavyweight division that just need an opportunity. Even if you don't fight Alexander Usyk, go get yourself in a final eliminator. Go make your statement at heavyweight. I get it's a risk. There's no money involved in this fight. And it's a risk. Frank Sanchez is a solid heavyweight man. But take that risk and elevate yourself. The heavyweight division is stagnant. There's not a lot of talent there. Go make your mark at heavyweight. Jared Anderson answered the call. He's supposed to go fight Frank Sanchez now, probably sometime in 2026. I think this is a massive opportunity. Hats off to Jared Anderson for taking this fight because, listen, this is the type of fight you need to take to elevate your career. You are young. You are heavyweight. It's time to get moving in your career. I gave him his hats off to him and his saluted to him back when he fought Martin Bakole. He was way too young for that fight, but he took on that challenge anyways. And then for the past 18 months, he's pretty much disappeared. Yes, he's fought since then, but he's pretty much disappeared. Getting back on the stage in 2026, it must be a big year for this man. And the truth be told, if he plays this correctly, 2026 could be a huge year for Jared Anderson. And American heavyweight division needs somebody to step up. All right, let's go into Devin Haney now. Obviously, magnificent performance against Brian Norman Jr., now the world champion at 147. And he's thrown out a couple different options. I'm going to list them here, and I just want to point this out. One of which is this. Haney and Conor Benn have been going back and forth. If you want to make a massive fight in terms of revenue, money, Devin Haney, Conor Benn is the fight to make. You talk about a build-up process. Now, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia would rival it, but I'm not sure there's too many bigger fights that would cause a more enticing and intriguing build-up process than Devin Haney and Conor Benn. Those two guys could easily build up a massive fight, whether that be in the UK or USA. And I'd be all for it. I would absolutely love for these two guys to go out there and fight. I think it would be very intriguing. I think both guys would get a massive payday here. Now, Devin Haney, I think, would be the easy favorite in this fight. But you're talking about two big-time opportunities right here. Devin Haney, Conor Benn. Go cash out for both these guys. Why not? For Devin Haney, you're at an interesting weight class. 147 has 3 of the world champions that he would easily defeat, but there's a lot of big names you can also go cash out on. So if you're Devin Haney, adding a Conor Benn to your resume would actually be a solid idea for him as well. But when you talk about those unifications, Bill Haney says this. He calls for the WBA world champion, Rolly Romero, to unify with his son, Devin, on the same night as the reported fight between Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia. Now, there's rumors of Rolly Romero and Manny Pacquiao fighting each other. Here's an interesting thing. If you are Devin Haney, you have the opportunity to make a massive statement within the next 12 to 18 months at 147. And here is why. 147 is a weight class that is drained of talent, but has a lot of great personalities. Let's look at the list. If you're Devin Haney, you could become undisputed champion within the next 18 months. I don't think anybody competes with him of any of the world champions currently. And then you throw in this list. You have guys like Rolly Romero. Obviously, that build-up process would be insane, as would a Conor Benn, as would a Ryan Garcia. Throw in Manny Pacquiao if you so desire. The point is this. There are so many guys at 147 that talk big talks, that can make big fights, and you can make a big payday. So if you're Devin Haney, all these opportunities are here for you to cash out and win big. And when you talk about this, Devin Haney has a chance to legitimately become one of, if not the face of boxing in the next 18 months. And his way of doing so would be by having these massive fights with the likes of a Conor Benn, a Ryan Garcia, a Mario Barrios, even if that would be, whoever it might be, and Rolly Romero, and winning those fights, becoming undisputed at 147 with these big fights, and you're looking at Devin Haney as one of these big stars in boxing just like that. I want to throw in one other thing. Just to hypothetically throw this out for you guys. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this as well. When we look at a big fight brewing in the United States of America, that might not take place for another 2, maybe even 3 years, but to start keeping your eye on, Devin Haney, Jerome Boots Ennis. Now, Devin Haney has a lot of work to do at 147. He will do his job. Boots Ennis is going to get to work at 154. But when you talk about Devin Haney, he is going to destroy anybody at 147. There's going to come a day when Devin Haney will move up to 154. And when he does so, he likely will be coming up from being undisputed or at least nearing undisputed status. That would be a massive fight. Devin Haney and Jerome Boots Ennis one day would sell a massive sellout in that fight. You could host that in many big places around America. That would be a mega fight to make. And I think it would be stylistically a very intriguing fight where at that point in time, 2 or 3 years down the road, we're talking about both guys being potentially the top 5 pound for pound. Potentially, not guaranteed, but potentially in the top 5. And I just want to keep our eyes on this because there very likely will be a day when we're going to have to start seriously looking at Devin Haney and Jerome Boots Ennis fight. We are, as I said, multiple years out from this opportunity. But keep your eye on this because I truly do believe that Jerome Boots Ennis and Devin Haney have a legitimate chance of happening in the future. And I think we'd be talking about having a mega fight on our hands if these two guys actually go out there and fight each other at 154 or maybe in 160 in the future. But this is a fight that we have to start keeping our eyes on. Last thing I want to get into on today's show, unless anybody has any more comments or topics, which I do not see currently in the chat, is this. Subriel Matias-Dalton Smith title fight could proceed on January 10th as planned. It is pending review and further testing of the WBC title holder. The New York Commission said in a statement to Ring Magazine, Matias delivered an adverse analytical finding November 9th following a beta test, but his ostarine level at 0.085 milligram per milliliter was below the threshold of 0.1. All right, lots to unpack here. I think the first thing I noticed here was this. So essentially, you can have ostarine or a PED in your system, but if it doesn't pass a threshold, you're in the clear. Weird stuff. Now I get it. Scientifically, it may not have the exact benefit or boost, whatever. I don't get it all. I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to talk like I know what I'm talking about right now. But just very interesting point right there. I'll admit that you can have some ostarine in your body and it's clear. All right. Interesting. I believe it's scientifically backed up. That's why the rule's in place. So I'm going to let that be. But this is why I always say this. And I made this clear when I talked about this last week on Thursday. I'm not going to shoot a fighter down until the B sample comes down. We have more details. More details have now emerged. And supposedly, now this is under investigation. Once again, I'm not going to make a firm statement and ridicule Matias yet. But there's a chance that he's going to be clear of this. And he did somehow just have his whatever he ate, consumed or something, had traces of it, and he got it into his system. And if that is the case, I can't blame the man. It's not his fault if that is what happens, and we'll have to find proof of this, but it's starting to sound a little bit more like it was just cross-contaminated. He brought some PEDs into his system, very, very minor amounts, and it screwed up the results. So we'll see what happens here. Just wanted to give you guys the update, and I'm intrigued by this. There's going to have to be more details because you have a fight that is quickly approaching. January 10th is what? Is that 6-7 weeks out, something along those lines? Maybe less. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. We're quickly approaching that, so I do expect the New York Commission to come out probably within the next 2 weeks and have more clarity, more details. But my hope is this. I'm so sick of drug cheaters in boxing right now. Sick of it. It's ridiculous. Need to get them out of the sport. That hopefully we have some good news here and we find out that Matias was not on PEDs and he was clear and that was a good win against Alberto Puello and the fight with Dalton Smith can happen for multiple reasons. One of which, I'm sick of drug cheaters and I hope he can be clear of this. And second of all, I feel horrible for Dalton Smith. This man has earned his shot at a world championship. And if he doesn't get the shot on January 10th, who knows when it happens? This will be a mass investigation, have to get the belts lined up, so on and so forth. Just hopefully this fight happens, always cleared up, and we get Dalton Smith and Subriel Matias to fight each other on January 10th in New York. So we'll see what happens now. A lot of moving pieces. I will keep you guys posted on that. With that being said, though, I don't see any more things in the chat, so I'll be wrapping up today's show with that. But I want to make sure I say this. Hopefully you guys that are tuning in from America, I hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and weekend. Enjoy the fights that are coming up this weekend. And I will see you guys back on Monday. If you guys are not in America celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you guys have a phenomenal Thursday and Friday and weekend as well. I will be back live on Monday, so make sure to stay tuned for that show. I'll give you guys a fight recap. And I'm sure with me not being on the air for 4 days straight, there's probably going to be a lot of boxing news. So That's going to be a great episode on Monday. Make sure to tune in then. I will see you guys at that point in time, though. May God bless you guys all. Thankful for all you guys that do tune into the show and support me. That is greatly appreciated. But may God bless you guys all. Have a blessed weekend, and I will see you guys back live on Monday. Enjoy the holiday night for my fellow Americans. If not, enjoy the weekend regardless. God bless you guys all. With that being said, SchuZ out. God bless y'all.